Could I get a motion to
I'll
approve?
make a motion to approve the minutes.
Give a second.
Second.
Any corrections or anything? No corrections to it? Roll call?
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrin?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Chairperson Bray?
Yes. Okay, so we'll move on to fiscal year 25, budget discussion. You want to tee it up for us?
I'll tee it up for you. So this meeting with Carver Heights CRA board, as well as the one to follow at 6:30 with downtown CRA, a little bit of a new wrinkle in our budget process. So trying to be more inclusive with the other members of the CRA as we move through the budget adoption process. The commission, the members of the city commission, reviewed some of these issues back in July during our budget workshops. And at that time, we said, let's have the extra meeting to bring in the other commissioners for the CRA. So with that, we put together pretty much what we discussed. And I'll jump to the highlights and really kind of, I think, where the body is at is trying to come up with the plans for the unallocated funds, which is a culmination of unspent monies from previous years and anticipated new revenue from projected for fiscal year 25. I'll be a little redundant for the members of the city commission, for the new members of the CRA. Again, these are the incremental revenues that come into the city. So when the CRA is created, you get the taxable year, then the increment, the value above that base year is the money that is allocated towards the CRA. Then the county shares its share of the increment. So the county revenue and the city tax revenue becomes the budget for the CRA. That money then goes into the CRA budget, and you have to spend it in the targeted district on the targeted plan. So the first chart shows kind of where you're at with respect to your reserve monies, so unspent monies. So we're projecting that for fiscal year 25, so technically all things being equal, if everything is projected, by the end of 25, which would be September 30th, 2025, you'll have about little under $1.1 million to spend. So that if I can, it's the green number, bottom of the screen. So with that, it's, let's see, is it working? Uh-oh. It would help if I turn it on. Yeah. Hey, hit the page for me, Brandy. So those are your tax revenues. The CRA is up about 225 grand. Hit the page again for me, Brandy. And these are the expenses. Most of these that are fixed. So fixed being you need to spend your money there unless you make a significant change in programming. You can do that. It's not bad, but this is kind of where we're at. So the personnel services is the housing and redevelopment manager position, the operating expenses, various stuff around the CRA, the resource center operations, 66, the debt service. So the debt service is about $1 million note that we got from the electric fund to build the resource center. That expires in 10 years or so-ish, about 100 grand there. So those four first expenses are really kind of your fixed expenses, barring any significant one. So theoretically, the only one you really can't change is you got to pay the debt. But then if the city commission would waive that, you probably could do that as well. So those are your fixed expenses. At the end of the day, where you end up, you've got the reserve monies, and the 979 is about where you're at. So where we were at, is that one work, David? Hit it, Brandy. Technical difficulties we adapted. That's your chart on your debt expenses. So that $100,000 that you're paying expires in 2033. I think the CRA itself retires in 45, something like that. So the next chart, this is the important one. Brandy, if you hit it again.
Yeah, 2045, you're
This is kind of where we were at as far as planning. So the biggest change this year to the CRA was obviously the implementation of the home grant, where we significantly increased the grants for those homes. We got 12 on board. We issued the 25,000. The average. Then we mixed it with LCAA money, and those projects are going pretty well. One more change for you. And so this is actually the significant slide. So kind of where we left off in the workshops was talking about increasing the home grant twofold. So instead of allocating about 300,000 to that, we doubled down on that, which we would estimate would get 24 homes versus the 12 that we did this year. So in 2 years, that would be the 36 new remodels. And then there was a lot of discussion on the privacy wall. So really where I would turn it back to the board to discuss is that $1 million and how you would want to spend it.
Okay. So if we were to double down with on the home grant program, that puts us at 600. Is that what the number is? Basically,
So
24
if you
instead of 12?
double down on the home program, you're left with the 491-ish.
And we have already at least 19. Was that the number that you told me?
That's what Sandra said, yes.
I think
that are waiting right now. So, I mean,
19 applications are in for approval now.
yeah.
they're from last year.
That
So
are s-
we
that we-
I can't remember that exact number. It's we got 30 in. We approved 12. The residual is that 19.
19, yes.
I don't know if it's 19, but we've got in the hopper a reasonable
How many do you
number.
think, Allison?
I don't think it was that many because some of them didn't qualify for other reasons. And then there was also others that weren't in the
12 more.
CRA block.
Oh, so 12 more.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. That was my question. But I
Well-
thought there was others that were on not in the CRA block. That was the most of them.
Yes, I don't remember the number that were not inside the Carver Heights CRA block, but
So that could be the
that could be
remainder.
That's
that
what
could
I'm
be
saying.
where I'm
that could be the
getting that number.
deltas.
Yeah.
There's 7 that came in that didn't qualify
Or something.
because
That's
they
right.
weren't in
That's
the Carver Heights CRA.
But my point is the program seems to be effective.
Yes.
There seem to be, and I would anticipate, should we offer that program again, that there will be more interest now that people have seen the results. That's what I'm guessing. So I want to strike while the iron's hot and try to get some improvement in the community through that. With regard to the privacy wall, I still have reservations on that. And my reservations are mainly in the physical optics of us walling off a neighborhood from a new, I know it's for safety reasons and we have a lot of reasons, but I just don't think it looks good that we're putting up a big wall between Carver Heights and our brand new Susan Street facility that we're going to be building. And for that reason, I think there's potentially some other reasons that we might want to retain some of that money. We're not positive exactly what kind of balance we're supposed to be carrying or what's the...
Individually, I have conversations with y'all, and I kind of share, you guys give me perspectives of kind of where you're at. And so if I'm you, I give you that answer. But I think typically then we share that publicly. So I said to the mayor's obviously been a big advocate of Susan Street Park and the recreational improvements there. We tentatively have Susan Street budgeted through this process at $7.5 million with a bunch of different funding sources. The biggest one that we shifted, if you guys approve the budget, I'm just going to say now, all the numbers I'm throwing out are conditional based on your votes, okay? So is it $7.5 million? So we're shifting a bunch of money over there, I think from ARP money, from the marina, and did some cat mouse there. But the big piece, which I think was in the neighborhood of $2 million, I believe, was from the 44127 CRA. So when we did that, we identified that Susan Street is on the boundary of Carver CRA as well as the 441 CRA. So I suggested to the mayor, I said, you would probably be an advocate of double down on the home grant and then advocate keeping the 490 in the bucket for potential spillovers to go towards Susan Street. So that would be a concept for this body to consider.
Well, my thoughts would be, I don't necessarily want to see 490-something thousand going into a privacy wall, but that is what the estimated prices are. However, we have to do something to contain the area because it's a privacy wall, but it's also an issue that we're going to have to deal with when the games and things are going on, far as I think we're going to realize that we're going to need it more so for saving the fields when no one is there. Dirt bikes, three-wheelers, going to and from. I still feel that it's needed. I still think that is a necessity for containing Carver Heights with the blight. I just wish we could come up with better pricing and better funding. I still stand where I stand. I understand everybody's concerns, but I don't look at it as drawing a line because when you think about it, the Susan Street project is in the heart of District 1. We're not receiving a benefit from it from a CRA standpoint because we're using the 44127, so we won't get, we meaning the CRA Carver Heights, Montclair won't get the tax benefit, but we have to provide something for the children and the residents we want them to participate for sure, but how many of the kids in the area do soccer on a soccer team? So that would be my next thing is, can we start having some training?
Remember, it's football.
Yeah, it's football as well. I understand.
We're talking about all fields.
That's what I'm saying, all field sports. So my thoughts is, let's create some form of training for young kids. The football we have, the Pop Warner, let's get some soccer training going. Somebody's teaching and letting them be able to learn how to play soccer. Benefits all the way around if we could just lower the pricing. So I still stand of the need, but can we find some other way to get some funding in to be part of the project for some type of protection or divider to stop the blight in and out of Carver Heights and the crime as well?
Your issue is the crime going through people's residentials, correct? Residential establishments. Would an individual grant to those homeowners for fencing or that community work?
Fencing is around the homes. Fencing is not from in one area from the Susan Street to Carver Heights. If could be a grant put in for the church, that Mount Sinai, right next to it on McCormick, that would be a help. In fact, he's been in here asking, but it's still going through the side of it. That's the church 908. I think that would be 906, if I'm not mistaken, McCormick.
I have to look at maps, sorry, yeah.
That's okay. But something has to be done. And I mean, we're repeating ourselves, and I don't want to beat the dead horse, but you know that it's an issue, it's a concern. I don't necessarily want to use all of the funding for this, but can we get more estimates? Can we put half the wall up, next half up another time? We've done 3-sided fences before, so for the park.
How much is this wall?
Gee, that's what I'm saying.
It's $491,000.
No,
that's about $1 million.
it was
Yeah,
closer.
that's what I'm
A lot
saying.
more than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, $1 million. I'm not looking to
Well,
do that.
I don't know the city's in the business of building barriers to keep people from trespassing on individuals' private properties. I mean, you probably could make that argument all the way around town that people trespass, but the city's not going to build a barrier wall to stop somebody from going on somebody else's private property.
The barrier is more so, the wall is for two part, to sound control for game time and for the protection. I mean,
Protection from who?
it's a lot of crime in Carver Heights.
I know, but I mean, is
That's the way to
it
and
any
from.
worse today than it was last year? I mean, we didn't have a wall last year. We never had a
It's
wall
been,
there.
it's really bad. It
Well,
has
I mean,
been,
to
and it's
me,
growing.
I mean, it's a police department issue. I mean, the police department gets more involved in it. I mean, if we've got that kind of crime down there, I mean, didn't we just hire a full-time officer just to work Carver Heights?
No, we didn't do that.
We did not.
We did not do that.
No, we
that did
didn't.
not.
We talked about it.
That's the wish.
No, but we did hire budget 12 more police officers, so
Yes,
there will
okay,
be
well,
more
12
presence in
police
Carver
officers,
Heights.
Yes, I mean, so I don't think the city's in the business of walling off private property just to keep people from trespassing on it. I don't think that's the business we want to get in.
So, when you say private property, isn't this the same property as Susan Street? When you say private property, what do you mean is private property?
Well, I'm
This is right
assuming
here, Susan.
you said at the one meeting about people walking through people's yards.
But not the walling of a private, I'm not looking for fence, I'm not requesting or asking for fencing private property for someone's yards. I'm trying to contain the Susan Street area. I'm just trying to divert people. I'm trying to divert people to stay on the trails to walk versus cutting through private property.
Okay, so like I said, to keep people off private property.
But the wall would be on the Susan Street property with the whole, the fields and everything.
So you want to keep people out of Susan Street?
No, I want to keep
Well,
people
what's the wall doing?
protecting people that are in Susan Street and protecting people that are in Carver Heights, as well as a sound barrier for the noise. Okay, Susan Street, you saw the display yesterday. Right now, there's nothing, I think a chain link fence that's been, well, whatever was there is gone now. So you can ride a three-wheeler, you can ride a dirt bike, you can't drive a car yet, but that's coming. And you have foot traffic to and from. Shopping cart buggies, I mean, I'm just repeating, you just have to see it, and I've expressed this before, so.
Well, I
So-
mean, I'm
so-
just confused.
yeah.
You want to keep people from coming to
I
Susan
want to
Street?
keep people
or
on
from
the
Susan
path.
Street going
I
to
want
the
to keep.
neighborhoods?
I want to keep people on the path, walkways, the path, the trails that we invested all this money to use versus walking through somebody's private
Well, what if
property.
they're on the trail and they want to come to Susan Street?
They go on the trail and go to Susan Street.
Wall would be on the other side. But
Okay, well,
I
then
got a
how do
question.
you get to the neighborhood on the other side?
You go down
Go
the
around
trail.
The wall.
Okay, well, so if you just walk around the wall, what's this accomplishing?
When you walk around the wall, you will remain on the trail versus coming through private property.
Yeah.
So right
Okay,
now,
let me
you
ask
just
one
walk
question.
through versus walking down the trail and coming around.
So when I look at my little phone and I look at, I'm looking right now at where the fields are at Susan Street and comparing where the houses are on McCormick. Because McCormick is as close to it as any road, correct? So if you look at that same, if you take that and then I swipe over and I go to Sleepy Hollow and look at how close those homes are to the fields, they are.
Right there. Not the
Right
same-
on top of
It
it.
is. I did the
So
same
how
thing.
much complaints do we get from those homes about noise?
According to who I asked, there were complaints off of
Well,
Tomato Hill
I'd like to
Road.
know what we field in complaints before we use that as a justification. That's all,
I understand, but it's a totally different dynamics now. Let's be real, far as the traffic that we're talking, the foot traffic that the blight that is coming through, far as Sleepy Hollow and Susan Street. So let's be clear on that. But the sound is my concern. You're right in the back of homes. You have the Birchwood, you have Pamela, you have Hill, you have McCormick, and keep coming. You have Beecher, you have Tuskegee, and then on this end you got Chester. It's gonna be an issue. And if it wasn't part of the design and thought of what we all have decided, I just think it should be. 10:30
I
at
understand.
night, elderly people listening to crowds roar, which I'm all in favor of the park being established, but we have to be considerate of the people that live there. And the sad part about it, that I must share, most of the people don't even know about Susan Street on McCormick. I've already walked and asked, and asking them to please come to the meetings, and we see. So that's a whole nother issue. But then when you scream and yell, it's gonna be, the fields are in, the people are here, and one gentleman asked me, why this neighborhood? Why are we putting it here? But it's like, it's, yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying that most of the people aren't even aware of the project, seriously.
well, I mean, but Susan Street's been there for probably
Ex-
50-plus years.
Exactly.
And I mean, again, I mean, it's one of those, I mean, if somebody buys or moves in to somewhere, they should be aware of their surroundings, of where they're moving to. So they moved to that area knowing there was a recreational complex there.
These homes have been here since 1956,
Okay, well,
58 and up.
okay.
Susan Street project is new, and it's gonna be.
No,
I-
but the original Susan Street's
the
been there
ori-
forever. It's been a
origi-
it's been a
Original
recreational
Susan Street has
complex.
been there recreational, tennis,
Baseball.
soft baseball fields, and
And
yes,
football fields.
exactly.
And soccer fields.
And what times did they end?
Well, baseball plays at night.
What times did they end the majority of the games?
Well, I don't.
Jay, we're arguing where I live. We're talking the
Okay,
back
well,
of my home
9 o'clock.
along.
9 o'clock.
That's
okay?
all I'm saying. I'm not disputing the fact that it won't be noise. This is not the main concern. My main concern is the blight and the traffic that comes through and the crime. And I can keep going on and on, but I'm not, so.
But I guess I'm confused. Explain it to me. Is the blight and the crime going to come from the new complex?
No, it's the traffic that comes from the complex to the that is the go-to area for going to work, walking through, for homeless, for people going to work. That's the new cut-through path versus staying on the path, staying on the trails. So instead of walking up to McCormick and going up to Center to come through by the Dairy Queen, if you can follow me, they come through behind Big Lots and around the Teen Center and cut through to
Right.
the end of the cul-de-sac of McCormick and come through that wooded area and then come through between 908 and the church.
But wouldn't that be going on now too? Or
It's
in
going on
years?
now. That's the concern, the blight now.
So it really has nothing to do with the renovation of Susan
No,
Street.
no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay,
Not
so
at all.
We're clear. Okay,
No,
so it has
I'm
nothing to
just
do with the
asking,
renovation of Susan
my
Street.
request was when the Susan Street was being, when we're talking of design, and what the chain link fence that was there, my thing is, this is not gonna work. What else could we do? And then that's when the wall came. So, it's a concern, and I guess I'm screaming and begging from the constituents. And unfortunately, they're not here, but
Well,
it's a problem.
I mean, I would hate to see the CRA spend
I don't
all their
wanna see that
allotment
either.
of money on a wall.
I don't want to see that either. That's what, I don't see it as $1 million, but that's what was quoted.
Right, but I
But
mean,
there's
it'd be-
other,
but I
I'm
don't-
asking is there could be other forms of walls and other pricing, because that was just one that was given. Have we dug any further? And of course, my understanding is that's what the state represented? That was the state amount? The $1 million?
The $1 million on the wall.
That was, you said that was
Yeah,
from the
okay.
state?
Do you mind if I share a conversation? Let me share our conversation so there's no sidebar. So the $1 million estimate on the security wall is a DOT spec. So, and there's kind of, we gave you two options and kind of spitballing it as far as an estimate goes. The higher end was the type of wall you see going down the turnpike or the highways along residential areas where you have a 10-foot high kind of concrete slab wall, and that wall has some sound insulation properties as well as a barrier. The other is would be a concrete block wall that would end with stucco. So you'd have more just of a fence. It would provide some soundproofing, but not everything. One of the conversation between Commissioner Reisman, he asked me as maybe a potential compromise is maybe what we want to do is put up that type of wall on what would be the west side of the Susan Street recreational facility. So I think we have spec'd out that the perimeter fencing around that as part of the Susan Street project is a coated chain link fence. So in English, chain link fence with the plastic on it, so it's a little more attractive than just plain chain link. So maybe what we want to do is if you can envision that side where the existing baseball fields and parking lot, down the woods, kind of up Birchwood, and kind of screen that western side, and then connect chain link into that wall.
I can't envision, but okay, I don't.
That, that might help with some of the sound issues that you're talking about. And also provide maybe some more security and not use the park so much as a cut through.
So let me ask this. Why don't, with that fencing, we add, they have certain type of plants that also help with sound barrier. So if you're gonna do Susan Street and lock that in, these plants will grow enough. We won't put bamboo. Bamboo just go wild. But it will block some of that if you're gonna throw the little strips in those chain link fences, like the Carusa type plants that they use, that, because that would help also with some of that sound coming through. I mean, we're gonna have to compromise on
I'm
something.
definitely open for compromising, and we don't need to beat this dead horse, but we have to do something. That's all I'm stating, something. And I'm open to any suggestion, but what's going on now is only getting worse. It's only getting worse.
And then at the last meeting, I thought that our other issue is if we put up that wall and then someone start writing graffiti on it, then we have to,
Blight again.
yeah, you got blight again that we have to constantly take care of. So I'm thinking if you're gonna drop that fence on Susan's side, I think a plat rotation would be nice. It'd be nice, presentable as well, and they're thick enough where people just can't walk through. Because you got the fence, then you have the plant arranged too on our side. I mean, if that's a route we want to go.
I was fairly vocal in budget about this. I don't need to get long-winded. I support the grant program. At the 600, I'm fine with that. I will not support a wall. We'll be on national news. It'll be a graffiti problem. I don't like anything about it. I do like your idea of a plant barrier. I've actually become more of a fan of natural barriers versus fences on the subdivisions. So I think that's a great idea, because it will reduce sound. But the wall, I'm not going to. I don't even need to say anymore. I will not support a wall.
Excuse me. So I rode down that path, just to take a look,
Right.
So I see on the complex side, I see where they have opened that fence up. So I guess with enough determination, they'll open it up. So
We joked in budget they would just get a ladder and throw it up.
Yeah. So I do like the plan idea, but instead of just on the complex side, I think you should do it on both sides. Because that way, if you go down to on the middle school side, and then there's a retention fence around the pond, I can see right down the side of that fence, there's a pathway there. And then there's like maybe 2 or 3 other pathways, to cut around the pond or the retention pond, or the other retention pond that's open. Yeah. So I like the idea of maybe starting from maybe a little bit further down where the school starts with the plants as far down as possible, and same thing on the other side. However, then there's the potential of the wooded area. It probably won't travel through it right now because it's wet and swampy looking, but when it dries up, someone will eventually find a pathway through there. So we got to figure out how far do you want to take those plants down the trail. But I think that would be a better idea because I do think the optics of the wall will kind of be a little, I don't want people to feel like they're being separated. But I do think
And I would
we do need
encourage-
something to
Yes.
deter traffic, because, like I said, I looked and they basically just opened that fence up. And I don't know what they used, but I'm sure they had some good tools.
So if you actually measure, if you look on a map and measure the edge of the fields we're talking about, and measure to McCormick Street, how far that distance is, and then you go out to Sleepy Hollow and you measure that distance from those fields, the same amount of you're talking about 3 roads down, not those houses that are right there on the fields. And I know there's a concern, and I get the concern, but is there an issue at Sleepy Hollow with noise? And if there's not, then, I don't think there's going to be an issue of noise at this location, unless the rec department or I don't know who knows about noise complaints. I mean, who would handle that kind of stuff, Al?
Well, I said this in budget meeting. I mean, I hear comments, that people don't want the noise. I mean, I don't want to spend all this money. I mean, we can move it somewhere else or just, tone it down and, the whole Susan Street idea. But I mean, $7.5 million, and now I'm worried about neighbors complaining about lights and sound. I mean, I don't know. The more we talk about it, the more I'm struggling with it.
Well, my concern is most of the neighbors are elderly, and we're talking from, what is the street that the freezer plant turns on? That street
There's
right
Chester's there.
Not
or
Chester,
something.
all the way up. From there, all the way down to the end of the cul-de-sac, they're elderly with maybe 2 households of young kids. So,
I mean, just look on
I
the-
hear what you're saying, and
look and see find out if there's if there's complaints. If we have lots of complaints from Sleepy Hollow, then
Well,
the houses at Sleepy Hollow are
Right there.
on the
I know.
fields.
I saw
they
them.
are right there behind it, and I just don't know if. I mean, it's like a concern, but is it a reality? Does it happen? Do we get those complaints? And I don't know.
I'll throw out,
Well, I think the
Okay. I was
main
looking for
thing is to
somebody.
just to deter foot traffic right now.
Yes,
I think
that's
you
what it-
really want to just deter the foot traffic. And
Thank
I
you.
think the plants,
Will
the
help.
tall, thick plants, if they need to be sticky, then let them be sticky, and
Yeah.
just deter foot traffic all the way down through that
I'm
pathway.
open for whatever. I don't want to, just be clear, I do not want to spend $1 million in a wall. That's for sure. That was never, it's too many other things that are desperately needed in our community that would
Right.
hold on to that money and demand much more.
Right.
So I'm not stating that at all. That was never my beat. But I do know that there has to be something done to stop the foot traffic.
Without going sideways too much, would it make sense to improve the Susan Street as is for the Carver Heights community and build this complex somewhere else?
No.
Well, okay, I'm just saying, I mean, on the edge of town where it's away from residential. Just an idea.
Yeah. We'll take some public comment.
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Jasper. I just want to make a quick comment because I live in the community, and I know there's been comments about the noise, but we haven't addressed the issue that we're currently having with the noise with the Elks Club, with the Carver Heights grocery store, and also at Berry Park. We haven't addressed those issues. When we talk about noise, this community has been saturated with noise for years. And then we talk about the foot traffic, people walking to and from Palm Plaza. It's been there for years. And I agree with you, Mayor Burry. about the optics of the wall. I just don't think that's befitting for our community, and I'm excited about Susan Street. This is an opportunity. So I don't think that's a real issue, the noise issue, because we haven't even combated the issues that we're having currently. So I don't think that's a real issue, and I live in that community, and no one ever asked me about the noise issue regarding Susan Street, so I don't see that it's going to be an issue moving forward. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the opportunities for our community, for the youth that's coming forth, so they can participate in these activities and have access to these activities as well. So that's just my comment on that. Thank you.
No comment from me on that one. Moving forward, I agree with the fact that I don't want to even consider moving Susan Street project. We're at the beginning of the beginning, so that's not even an option. I hear and I understand everyone's concern, and I hope you hear and understand mine because I'm living it. But I am on board with moving forward with the suggestion of a some kind of boundary, and trying to use that money to be more productive within District 1. That is a plus and a major concern of using that money to be a focus on what we really need to be focusing on.
I know how some of you guys like studies, but would it be beneficial to hire a company to look into this and bring solutions back to us?
It doesn't take. I mean, it's not rocket science. Yeah, I would say it's not rocket. It's Stevie Wonder could tell you what's going on. So I'm okay. I hear everyone's concern. I'm other place.
The positive is we're going to spend $600,000 in community improving homes. We don't have to spend the other money. I mean, we don't have it today anyway. We'll have it by fiscal year end, so we have more time to talk about that. I do like the landscape idea. I don't want to run it forever. I mean, I think it needs to be. It'd probably be a positive behind the shopping center. I saw those conceptuals last night. You know, of course, they have this beautiful conceptual of the back of a shopping center, and we know it doesn't look that good.
Quite that good. That's what I was looking like. Where is that?
I mean, the landscape buffer along that, if they want one on the other side,
Can you make it look like that on what we saw for the entrance? Yeah. That would be great.
But we can always massage this later. I mean, I think it sounds like we're in agreement on the $600,000.
It sounds that way. So I would suggest, just for sake of brevity, unless y'all want to talk some more, we'll move forward with the draft budget with the 600 going to the home grant. We'll move the 491 down to the bottom and keep it there for future considerations. We'll swing back around with our consultant on the Susan Street to get a vegetative buffer in on that west side and just see where that cost goes. I honestly, I don't have any idea what that's going to cost. My knee jerk is probably around $50,000 to get to that length, make sure it's thick, something, maybe not that much, but, not, so we'll throw that in there and we can get, we're going to need to irrigate it. So so my number's probably not that far off, probably closer to 100. Yeah. So, but I would say, we can throw that into the design spec and it'll be and bid it as an alternative and see what the number comes in at.
And may I?
And we might want to do that on both sides too. But remember, on the west side is Carver Heights CRA. On the east side is 441.
Well, you just gave me a lead into one of my comments. I mean, I'm not afraid to use this money towards Susan Street, and I think if we're going to hit is it Greater Leesburg or the 441? But if we're going to hit the 441 CRA for money, I'd sure like to hit Carver Heights equally. I think they need to be.
Yeah, the only thing I would say on that is the line.
Well, it's split down the middle.
It's split down the middle.
I'm not trying to get mathematical. I'm just saying I think
there is a mathematical approach to it.
Okay.
Because where do those improvements actually lie? What CRA district? And the lion's share of that budget is going to go into the turf field, the stadium field, and that's in 44127 CRA. So I don't think, I like that concept of 50-50 between the CRAs, but the lion's share of expenses is going to be within the 44127 CRA. But I think what we should we'll throw some more concepts in there for vegetative buffering, for beautification and screening out the back of the store, and as a deterrent there too. So I don't, that's not a crazy issue, and we can do it as a change order. See where the budget is as the numbers come in.
And may I add or suggest one thing that maybe the other two commissioners might want to add something as well? I think, if you all had other suggestions for anything else within the budget, or are you all okay with what was being presented?
Yeah, well, I will add, when you go into that vegetative, when you ask them about the vegetation, ask about the clusia.
The cluisia.
Yes, because you don't need much water for that.
Cluisia 3-gallon bucket is
No,
$9.99. Yeah,
Somebody
I was
just
going to
landscape with you at home.
Hold on a second. My wife happens to love Cluisia. It's an excellent looking plant. It's a kind of a Japanese derivative. It's drought tolerant. It likes lots of sunshine. It makes an awesome buffer. After the meeting, I'll show you my. Yeah.
Is your wife watching the meeting?
I'm going to tell her that came up. She will.
You tell her, and it grows tall. So
It
I'm a
does.
plant person. I don't know what that
It's
is. Show me
really
pictures.
cool stuff.
Show a picture.
I actually am a plant person.
Chloesia, whatever, thank you.
Is there, do you need a motion?
This is my house.
There you go. See, look how tall that
Do
is.
you need a motion from the group
No.
to adopt this $600,000?
I don't think so.
Everybody's in agreement. I mean, that,
Everybody
it
seems to be in
seems.
agreement. We'll get it in the budget and then approve it formally in September.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do that. When we do the budget, so when we do the budget adoption process, the commission adopts the budget being all the general fund and enterprise funds. We do that by resolution twice. And then we do a quick meeting by resolution with the CRA boards, I think, prior
Sounds
to
good.
that.
it's the Thursday,
So you guys being on September 12th to formally adopt it.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to a roll call. This is the opportunity, if you've got anything to bring up.
I was gonna say, do y'all
During
have
roll call.
anything else to bring up?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Berry?
Nothing else tonight for me.
Commissioner Connor?
nothing.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes, this may not be quite related to this,
No, but that's what,
but the property that's the address 1111 Beecher Street, my idea for that spot would be like a community multi-purpose center, to serve the community in various ways, for as if it's education, meetings, or if they want to hold something there. I know you have the CDC, but I think this will something local in that community, and you got that out there, would really serve that area well. I mean, something not necessarily short term, something to be thought out and maybe done in a very economical way. Since that was a public facility at one time, I think it would be a good replacement.
okay, is that the swimming pool?
Yes,
Gotcha.
and just a community multi-purpose center, something,
Okay, something to think about.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Connell? Commissioner Eastman?
Nothing this evening.
Chairperson Berry?
Nothing tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a second?
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you, guys. So we're going to do
Plan
six.
for this.
Yeah, we got to wait for 6:30.
Gotta wait. Yeah.
Call to order the Greater Leesburg-CRA meeting. It's Tuesday, August the 13th. The time is 6:31. Meeting's called to order. We already have an invocation from tonight and a pledge. So at this point, we'd like to ask, did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes? Were there any revisions that needed to be made on the minutes? Could I get a motion to pass the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from May 28th.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Berry? Yes. Commissioner Ponder? Yes. Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Sorry, Chairperson Berry.
Yes. Okay, you want to tee up the budget?
So to tee up this budget, pretty much everything I said in the Carver Heights CRA applies to the CRA. Commissioner Ponder, I don't know, were you here for the Carver Heights CRA meeting? Okay, so you got all that. So okay, so same type of deal here. The CRA is sitting on about $30,000 in cash, and we anticipate, as we propose it to y'all, about $40,000 on unallocated funds. The increment revenue looks something like this: about $1 million, about a 7% increase. And then this is your performance chart on things you have to do. So we decided last year a thing we have to do is special events. So we are funding special events at the tune of about $445,000, insurance costs and other little stuff. The operating suspenses, about $500,000, is the payment to the CDC. And then debt service, that debt service is on the Main Street project. So those are all things that we have to do. Again, same type of thing. I mean, you could change those other than the debt. And this debt, that was a bank note, so you don't control that. But that, those would be cataclysmic changes, and the debt as well as the CDC expense. You have to do those things. So with that being said, we have about $340,000 to spend. One of the things that we decided and we made a priority for the downtown this year was we put about $1.24 million into, I'm calling this downtown parking and associated projects. We funded that with DST revenue. Okay, so the purpose that we discussed in that is to go back through and analyze our non-conforming issues on the side streets and to improve those areas, improving the non-conforming parking spots on the side streets, so that would be Main Street and then the numbered streets. That's actually going to reduce on-street parking. So how do we make that up? We look at where for lack of better words, the old partnership building is, and we use that area to improve parking. Blake from GAI spoke with us about that back in December, identifying that the rule of thumb for people to park is 500 feet, and if you can find centered locations within 500 feet, then you have that, and we identified that that area is a good spot where we think we can improve parking. I want to digress a little bit, throw something new at you. One of the other things that we discussed in the budget process was the relocation of the gas department and then potentially knocking down those facilities. This links into this concept because in that $1.2 million downtown and other associated projects, part of that concept is to knock down the partnership building, and then we were talking about relocating the events division into the Tropic. As we've had side conversations, putting together leases with Center for the Arts, Melon Patch, and the events, those conversations were actually more difficult than I thought, just because of space needs and just practicality. And it turns out that I say this tongue in cheek, but the hardest folks to deal with were our own events department. And Travis has been in my office more than once. So as we started talking about relocating the gas department to Griffin, their interpretation of the facilities that aren't good for the gas department would work perfect for them. The reason that they would work perfect is they're a group of 2 or 3 people. They have some storage facilities. Basically all that equipment that's in the partnership building, we were looking to go elsewhere or build another facility. We were actually, I'm the cheap one. I was actually talking about putting that stuff in the Public Works facility, which is the old Metro Steel building. They did not like that concept because they felt like it was too far away from hauling stuff in and out. So long story short, the events division has fallen in love with, if we move the gas department out, let's move them there. That then makes it a better fit at the Tropic for Arts and Melon Patch. So we will come back to you with these concepts. So as we move forward in the budget process with getting gas up to Griffin Road, the concept now would be to hopefully bring in events over to that. I think the only thing that you're giving up there is the potential sale of that facility. I haven't had an offer yet on those. So I think those things
The gas
are
building is on the trail.
to be determined.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, it works for them. The only comment I would make to all that is if we do move them there, I know you've got that, well, I don't know I guess it'll stay there, the big gas line where that concrete slab is. I guess I'd just like to tie in, continue the parking into there and
Yes.
help improve parking.
Yes.
Somehow tie that together.
Yes,
Would that-
and it's not a gas line, it's a water.
Okay, but it's not going anywhere then.
It's-
Okay, that water line's not going anywhere.
Oh, no.
That's a big one from that tank.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like the main arterial artery coming
Okay,
out of the
so I was
water
looking at like the north half, just tying
Yes.
it into the live stream parking lot. That's all
Absolutely.
master plan,
Yep.
but that,
And we would only lose the one side of the street. The other side of that gas is currently using, we could still do something else with or sell if need be, right?
Sell it if need be, but I think Mr. Strickland has some ideas for storage there as well.
So- Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. So, excuse me, go finish. I'm sorry.
There's 2 facilities there. East side of, it's 5th Street, right? East 6th Street, I mixed up my numbers. East side and west side of that street. I think those are to be determined, but I think that's a happy solution for all the parties. And so where we would start to isolate that more is probably the next month or so. Actually, this evening, we just got some of the pieces on all this is falling into place. So I'll just be super brief. The resolutions and ordinances that you need to make decisions for rental agreements and closing streets and all that will be coming to you probably in the next month. So as those come to you, we'll say formally, yes, we're doing that plan.
So how big is
Or no, we're not.
How big is the side of the gas building where the events group would want to go in? How many offices? I'm trying to picture that.
The gas department is 20, 25 people. I think we've got it budgeted for 29 with a few openings, something like that. So they're jammed in there. So you take a facility that's has 29 people jammed in there, and now it's 3 people with storage. It becomes usable for them, where it's not usable for gas. And in the conversation I beat up on Travis, the only thing that they would need to do, because I'm like, well, Andy can't use that building with, you know, that was so, and I was kind of frustrated a little bit because I pitched to you guys that place is a dump and it needs to go away. And then I get Travis coming and saying, well, we can use it. Well, how am I going to back up from being a dump? But long story short, the storage capacities that they need for the partnership aren't as sensitive to the issues that Andy is having. So basically the only thing they would need to do is cut a garage and put a garage door in to where Andy has her files. So I think it's a workable plan.
So it'll be files for city clerk's business, and then
Yeah,
No, we're
yes. Yeah. So up at Griffin Road.
At Griffin Road.
Up at Griffin Road, we need to build an airtight, air-sensitive AC, air-controlled was the word I was looking. She needs a new, larger air control facility, which we'll put up in Griffin. We need to modify the old Knights of Columbus building for gas, probably some expansion for them. And then some stuff for electric. So that's that relocation up there. Down here becomes clearing it up, maybe putting some lipstick on it, and then formalizing it for events. When that's done, then we can go back to the partnership building, get that knocked down, and look to plan the parking lot and other parking improvements. It's kind of step one, and that's where that $1.2 million is coming from. And we're using the DST money to get, that's a big first step to get that done. That's the proposal now on the table. With that, now you go to, and I just felt like it was, even though that's not CRA money, it's a downtown improvement project where we're grabbing, and an important project, I think, to everybody. So now you need to talk about the 340 grand. So my suggestion, and so that's back to this number, that the 340 grand. I know Commissioner Reisman has talked, and he talked about putting some money into the FSL program for downtown. My suggestion really is probably going to, try to keep a lot of that unspent, because you have some other projects that are coming up. We don't know where. I think the $1.2 million is a good number for the first swag at the parking improvements. Should you approve that budget, the first step will bring Blake back from GAI, get him to do a more thorough review and start designing some concepts on the parking. Then using that money to pay Blake as a consultant fee from GAI, and then have some capital projects. Then once that parking stuff is done, you all have talked about other projects now. We're going to leak into 26, 27, and they stay central to downtown, getting back to the Market Street concepts, the Pocket Park concepts, market lighting concepts, which you've talked about, centralized dumpsters to make it a little neater and cleaner and easier for the business as kind of phase 2 of your next improvement programs.
I'd like to ask one question. Is anything could be shaved, or anything could come back from that million to the parking that could be used for anything possible for the 340 and still have something? Could anything be shaved or used out of the million for the parking? Any cutbacks that could be utilized?
I would not. No.
Okay.
I mean, you would need to negotiate that with your.
That parking, we'll blow through the $1,240,000, I guarantee.
You'll blow through the $1.2 million pretty darn quick.
Here we go again, the $1,240,000 for the parking, but not the $1 million for the wall. So I'm just saying, any possibility in your eyes? So I'm just saying.
You're looking at me, Commissioner.
No, I'm not looking at anyone.
So
I'm just
it's
asking,
really, that's why we're here.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm here stringing all the 7 different keys together.
Yeah, no. I'll comment on that. I'm not trying to be argumentative.
I'm not
in the downtown master redevelopment plan, parking, I've said I'm like a broken record. Parking was the #1 issue for the downtown businesses, and it's time to spend money downtown. I've been very vocal about getting this parking. I could not be happier about what we're doing with parking. enough said. We will spend more than $1,240,000.
You will.
Yeah, somehow. But Al will find the difference.
I mean, Brian, who just bought the Chevy building, so there's new development coming down. In your packet that Deputy City Manager sent out, Tom Frost just unloaded, I think, close to $300,000 for those 3 parcels where God's Cafe was. So there's stuff coming, and we're going to need more parking downtown for the development that's coming.
I mean, I worked downtown before. I live a mile away. I'm pro downtown. I'm down there. I don't complain about parking, but everybody does. And, it's been a constant complaint. I'm still hearing it today. I'm just glad we're finally dealing with it. And I'm thrilled to tie the gas plant in, the former gas plant in some form or fashion with the events group. And it matches up with our parking. May not pick up a lot, but every little bit helps.
So now you're saying nothing for the 340. How much has to be remained? How much needs to be left in the pot?
That's a question for you to tell me. That's where you need to collectively, I mean, that's kind of the purpose of the meeting, is to.
So Commissioner
have that
Reisman, you
discussion.
wanted to do the signage. I wanted to do still some of the homes that, we have some people, I just want to know, how are we going to address the individuals who have applications in for home improvement that we accepted, with the understanding that come September, they will be on the list?
How many people
I
did?
have no, I don't know the listing of numbers and stuff, but there are some. I don't know how many.
But that's happening with every grant program. We have more applicants than we have money typically.
I think she's saying something a little
No, no,
different.
no.
They
That's
are-
not
do
what
you
I'm
think
saying.
there are?
It might be 8. I'm not sure, and I'm guessing. That's from that meeting that we had when they were told, this is not about application was received, and saying, not this time, but the next time. So now we're at the next time.
I'm fine holding on the FSL grant until we finish the parking. Then I'll reevaluate that maybe next budget season.
Is
But
it
so-
fair enough to say, can we evaluate and find out exactly how many, and we not guess and wonder how many are who's out there? I mean, why won't we have a report to know of the numbers that are waiting? We've been estimating about 19, 20, 15, 8. Why don't we know?
Look, I'm going to be direct, Commissioner Berry, and this is not me. I'm speaking on behalf of what I think the consensus of this body is.
Okay.
The home grant was developed, and we increased the home grant to get more money into individual home projects. We did that. I think this year we were successful of that. I think specifically, Commissioner Berry, you were successful at getting not this body, but the CRA body to get that done. And that was a significant change in programming. But I think now take your CRA hat off from Carver Heights and put your City Commission CRA hat on, and at this body put on your downtown CRA. I think where this body, the majority that spoke, believes that CDC funding is our dollars towards that improvement.
Okay, I was just getting ready to go there.
Commissioner Peterson spoke on that very clearly. And so I know, Commissioner Berry, that you have a desire to want to spread the improved home grant to all the pockets of the city. The general fund, the downtown CRA, and the 441 CRA, which probably less because there's not as much housing there. So at least the 3 other areas. The pushback you're getting is I don't think you have that consensus from the body.
Oh, definitely. But my question again is what I just asked. When can we get the true numbers of how many applicants are there? We should have that information.
We had, Brandy, what was your number you just texted me? It was, we had 21 applicants that came in.
Mm-hmm.
We funded 12. There were 9.
That's what the question
Yeah,
is.
but
Which
so there,
list?
of that
But you merged Carver
9
Heights. This is
on the
Carver
wait
Heights.
list, some are going to be Carver Heights, and some are not going to be Carver Heights.
That's what I'm trying to see.
I
that
will get
9.
you that
Okay.
number.
And then just to be clear where I'm coming from, my focus is on downtown Leesburg as well, because I think overall that is what we need to expand and grow so that we can get more revenue in and people coming. So I know the importance of it, but I just don't understand how we can accept something and then tell somebody no, and then not give them an explanation except first come, first serve, because that really wasn't.
No,
We have to
and
do
I
it- we have
think
to do
we
it all the
were.
time.
Look, I'm gonna push back a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think our staff was professional. We got out information about the home grant. We can't control who, that we put it citywide. And so everybody, filled it out. And when we got applications in, we were professional about how it was funded and who got the money.
Okay.
And we told the folks in the Carver Heights area, it's first come, first serve. That's in the grant application. We prioritized what we thought, based on the inspection reports, were the worst houses first from the application pools that we got. And then when we got houses that were outside of where the project was funded, we professionally informed those folks, you aren't eligible for this because the money isn't there in your neighborhood for these reasons. And then as far as the waiting list goes, those are the 9. We don't know the numbers off the top of our head, which were ones that were outside Carver Heights and which ones were the one that are in Carver Heights.
Right.
I will get that to you. I'll get that information to you tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm trying to help Commissioner Berry, but I touched on this in budget. Half the money here goes to the CDC, and I don't know how that money's spent. I guess.
Thought you requested and we had to have a meeting with the CDC.
right.
Okay.
She did. And,
Okay.
and so I need you task me with getting with the CDC for them to give you kind of a state of the CDC at an upcoming meeting.
It's allocation of expenses.
So I will get that meeting.
But that would be a great way to fund some of the things you want to do with some of that money.
Okay. But that money is a
They can use it any way they
federally-
want.
But that's,
No, that's coming right from here. That's
Yeah.
a split. That's 50% of this money goes to them.
but that is okay, my understanding, that's from a lawsuit that's federally mandated to
Well,
go to
it's
whatever.
okay, but putting
what
that-
they do with it is the
Okay,
question.
with the putting,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, the mandate just says they get half the money. How they spend it is
That's what the question
is governed by the
How is
CD.
it?
And
That's
I
what
don't
we
and
left
I
at
don't know
as a
how they're
meeting.
spending
That's
it. I guess what I was trying to say was maybe you can lean on them to do with $500,000 and plus $1,000. Maybe they could.
500.
Yeah, they could fund some of the things you want to do. And I don't know. We'll find out how they spend their money.
So really, barring any significant change, the way that this is proposed, then we'll come back to you in September, and you approve the budget.
So we're gonna just let the 340 sit?
Unless
without-
y'all come up with a different plan
Commissioner,
right
do you
now.
have any suggestions or, I mean, I don't know, did Commissioner Sokol have any suggestions of things? I mean,
I sent him some information about it here back from him because he's on a cruise.
yes, that's true. He did tell me that.
I know that when we had the meeting at the church regarding the shootings that were happening, something that came up from several of the people in my community was the speeding that's happening down Baker Street. And the chief at that time, he talked about a possible speed study to see if there was something needed, like to put speed bumps or signage or something like that. But I hadn't heard anything when I watched the videos of anything coming back up about it. So I don't know if that's something that could be looked at to see if that's even needed, because some of the people in the community were asking, could we get speed bumps? And he was explaining that, there are some things that have to happen before we could have, speed bumps put in. And he talked about like a speed study being done. So I know that that's something that's concerning. We do have a lot of children in our neighborhood. We have buses that stop throughout our community, and we have cars that are just constantly zooming. And then something that I've just observed on my own is when I take my children to John Park down the street from me, there's families who are walking their dogs in the neighborhood now, and we're getting, poop and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if there's signage or maybe even the little boxes that could be put up with the bags for them to collect the, the droppings from the pets, to just keep it nice, because I know that we're doing some things to improve it, but just pushing my stroller, I just don't want to take that back into the car, the house, and I imagine if I'm experiencing that, there are other people who are probably dealing with that too. And it's new, that's not something we've seen, my kids are young, so at first it wasn't a thing, but now it's a thing.
So is the Baker Street problem that you perceive, like from east over to Dixie, kind of the
Yes.
cutoff to try to bypass the light.
I
at
imagine
Main
that's
and-
what's happening.
I'll follow up with Chief.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, we
it
might
wasn't the
can-
current chief though. It was the prior chief who spoke when we were at the church, and he was just explaining to all of us that you don't just get speed bumps or the little things put in. There's some things that have to happen, and so I was out checking the mail, and they asked me, Sam, no one's ever said anything, so I'm here. Speaking up for the
We've kind of
people.
gone from the speed bump thing
Yeah.
can kind of come back and bite you too a little bit. I think
Yeah.
we've had-
I'll follow
You
up
know,
with Chief on that and get with you.
And my neighbor, he did express that. He was saying, Sam, we do have the concern, but then it's going to be our tires getting eaten up because we're the locals, and it's probably not even us who are coming through speeding here. So, I mean, it's a little layered, right? So we got to figure out how to address it, but it's a thing. When we're out and we see the kids coming up and down the street on their little golf cart coming to visit family members and stuff, cars zooming past them.
Right.
So we're just figuring out how to make it a little safer for us and maybe keep me from pushing through the dog poop at the park.
That's just receptacles that could be put on.
Maybe
place too,
some
right?
signage
Okay.
even. Just because I know that if I'm experiencing it, I know the other families who are patronizing the park are seeing that.
And is that John L. Johnson Park?
Yes,
you're
sir.
talking about? Okay, yeah.
Yes,
I just want to make sure that, right.
On Mills. That's
You got what you
what I
need?
have right now.
If you all are good, I'm good.
Everybody good?
Oh, I did want to bring up. I know that it was briefly mentioned about the shot detection. I remember they were saying that it's super expensive. I didn't know if we did any further looking into seeing if maybe there's some other companies that may have some type of shot detection where the police could be notified directly if something like that happens. I know that I was reading online that there's a program where it can detect the shots and notify prior to even 911 being called, so the police could respond even faster. I don't know how much discussion. I remember when I was watching one of the videos, I believe Commissioner Berry had brought that up, and I was really interested in it, so I tried to dig a little bit more. Did we ever talk more about that?
The former chief was here in the meeting as deputy city manager, and I remember his comment was, we get immediate phone calls. So I mean,
Yeah, I don't-
it's just, he thought it was a waste of money.
He said it was
Yeah, we'll follow up with
expensive.
you on that.
It was expensive, but he gets the phone call immediately.
No,
So it's the same thing.
yeah, I think internally we think that's ineffective.
Oh, really?
So we'll follow up with you on that.
They're calling immediately.
Okay. Yeah, I would appreciate that, because I know that from my research, it was saying that it triangulates to really give the exact location of where the sound came from and just, immediate notification. So, I mean, it would be interesting to see if in the cities that, the technology is being used, if it's made a difference.
Okay.
That was one of the requests for the neighborhood watch for the Baker Street meeting. And Chief Iozzi, you were there. You recalled the conversation of the neighborhood watch and the shooting thing, and that was what Deputy City Manager gave out at our last meeting with a study, research study, and it was the pricing was the issue. And then he said it wasn't that effective. Yeah. Yes, what Commissioner Peace said. Mhm.
And then I think, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, we'll get you more information.
And following up, thinking about that, what you brought up from the neighborhood watch, you saying that triggered my memory from that meeting. Is that something that's traditionally funded from us, or how does that
General
work?
fund.
From general funds? So that's not something that we need to discuss, or is that something that we do need to
I mean, I
discuss?
think it's good you bring it up here, but typically those public safety items we kick back into the general fund.
Okay,
Which benefits the CRA.
okay. So, new
So you
here,
don't have to
learning to
spend your
navigate.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
All right, any other suggestions? Let's move on to a roll call.
Commissioner Berry,
Nothing else for me.
Commissioner Ponder,
Nothing else.
Commissioner Cornell,
No.
Commissioner Reisman, Commissioner Peterson,
Nothing tonight.
Chairperson Berry.
Nothing tonight.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.